Warning, this episode contains graphic language, dangerous forks, home decorating woes, and tween angst. Also, there will be spoilers for chapters 1 through 3 of The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm by Christopher Paolini. Listen at your own risk.
Is this a podcast, or is this just fantasy? We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. So join us if you want to nerd out. Time to start the podcast and see. Anyway, here's the show.
Hello, readers. I'm Dane Patterson, the host who also needs the partner of my life to push me to leave my basement and all the busy work I've made for myself.
Yes, and I'm Jacqui Lanier, and is this a podcast or is this just fantasy? The podcast where our aliases also pay homage to our beloved mentors, or maybe it's to our horses. I do get a little confused sometimes. It's just a confusing...
It's a horse mentor, Jacqui, obviously. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, there's a link in the show notes. Or if you can't, just don't want to, we totally understand. Just please rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
And as always, you can check out our sweet merch, listen to our entire episode archive, or just learn some fun facts about us at isthisjustfantasypod.com, and follow us on social media. We are on TikTok at isthisjustfantasypod and on Instagram at justfantasypod.
And Jacqui,
yes,
we are through
the
original series.
Yes.
After this, we're jumping into Murtagh.
Yes.
How are you feeling? What's your emotional state? I'm in your mind.
Let me check in with my chakras really quickly. I just can't believe how close we are to wrapping up the inheritance cycle.
I feel like we've grown close too.
Yes, that is the thing I was saying.
Yeah.
No, it just feels weird. We've been in the inheritance cycle for so long.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm going to lose a part of my life when it's over. It's like, where do we go next? But I am excited to just keep it light for this little book, and I think it'll be fun to reread Murtagh. We read it when it first came out.
Yes.
Digging in for the pod will be fun, I think. And other than that, I'm just trying to quiet the internal racket that is currently aimed at where we go from here. It's
a little scary.
Yeah.
We don't know. If you have thoughts, please let us know.
Yes.
We are open to things still. We have to prepare soon for something.
Yes.
I'm also a little sad it's over. There's a part of me, I can't wait to get to Murtagh and dig into that. So I'm a little excited to just get to that part. But it's bittersweet because we have been doing it long enough where I'm like, we could take a break. But I love it. So it's been really fun. It'll be a good time. Maybe that's the best time to walk away from something. You know what I mean?
Go out on a high note.
Maybe it's about the books we made along the way. You know what I mean? I don't know. Something about that.
No, if it's us, it's about the inappropriate jokes we made along the way.
It's definitely about that. I will say, if you're expecting a full recap of the series to this point, not going to happen. But because
I'm not insane, and I think you're welcome.
Yes. Also, thank you. But these are going to be a little quicker.
Yes.
But that being said, let's jump right in.
Okay.
Chapter 1. Mount Arngor.
Crushed it.
Everybody who's listening, I tried that so many times.
Yes.
And it just failed every time.
It is a word that your mouth does not want to say aloud.
It does not like Arngor as much as I am like the dwarves. I am so much different. Anyway, we are back with Eragon, and I love it.
Yes, I feel like we really get off to a strong start. First line in this book is, the day had not gone well, which just, I cackled aloud immediately.
It's so true. It really shows us that Eragon really is an adult now.
Yeah.
He's drinking, feeling homesick.
Yep, same.
When we come right in on some data operations information from his day job, we learned that Eragon's Dragonhold and Academy for Writers is getting monthly supplies from Nasawada.
Yeah.
And her empire and the dwarfs who are much closer just geographically.
Okay.
Are supplying him every 3 to 4 months. So he's getting them way more often than Nasawada's empire help. Which leads me to the question, Jax. What would you name your Academy for Writers? She did not know this was coming.
Monthly supplies Academy for Writers. What do you mean leads you to the question?
Well, he's in the humdrum of life. He's working with the logistics of food management.
Yes.
I bet there's a lot of time for grand thoughts about what he's probably going to call this thing.
Yes. I'm if the only way I could draw people out to the middle bumfuck nowhere is saying, we do get food monthly. I think I would call it Monthly Supplies Academy for Writers.
Dragon Academy, a Guy Fieri restaurant.
You won't starve Academy for Writers.
I love that. Okay.
Flavortown.
Flavortown. Yes, it's just Flavortown.
Yes, the Flavortown Academy for Dragon Writers.
Perfect. Nailed it. No notes. Eragon seems worn down by the logistics of running all these projects. And again, he's really starting to sound like a 30-year-old in a corporate job.
Yes,
so I really do identify. Mount Arngor, where they settled, sounds beautiful. It stands in a flat land, and I'm picturing like a mountain island for some reason.
Okay.
Like all you see is just this one mountain. It is 2 weeks east by boat from the Bior Mountains, and it's technically still a part of that mountain chain.
Okay.
Smaller than the BRs from the original series, but larger than the spine we're talking about.
Take a little riverboat cruise out.
Exactly.
You get to your mid-size mountain.
Exactly. There's people like tour cruises that do like murder mysteries on the river. We're talking about a big place here. It overlooks the plains below it, and this it's a big place here. It overlooks the plains below it that surround the mountain, and there is the Edda River that runs north and west of where the new Dragonhold is. And we will remember that river from Eldis when we had his barge tour with the dwarves to see Oramus and Glader for the first time.
Yes, a thing I totally remember.
Yeah, remember that?
What that river's called.
Remember when we first saw the like knuckle? Mm-hmm. You know,
I do remember
stuff.
Riverboat Cruise. That was fun, but I
lovely.
forgot what the river was called.
To the south, the land is rough like a blanket. That's a quote. And dotted with many trees that shine silver in the sunlight. To the east, there's a rocky terrain with cliffs and stone and wandering tribes who, quote, the likes of which Eragon has never encountered before.
Oh, so we have just like a brand new culture out here?
A brand new culture.
Fuck yeah.
We're not going to get deep into it, but we do have
We're never going to know more about it,
Nope,
but
we do not.
It's a fun drop.
It is there.
It is a book of short stories.
Yes, it is a book
Notably.
of short stories. The mountain had already been mined and tunneled by some clan of dwarfs long ago, and they called the mountain Gornavelin, Mountain of Gems.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Who it was, and if there are more gems, still debated by the dwarfs today.
Oh, shit.
I imagine that's what he goes down there, and that's what they're arguing about as they do it.
All the dwarves are just still thousands, millennia later. They're like, we don't know who was here, and we don't know what was here, but I bet we could find more.
There's some guy on the like crew who's like name's Roger, and he's like, "Oh, guys, clearly they're
They adopted a classic dwarf hermit to the crew,
Exactly.
and he's like, I've been looking about this forever."
Yeah, exactly.
He's got maps.
I got maps.
Red string wall.
Exactly. The elves call the mountain Felfindere, Mountain of the Knights. I don't know if any of these pronunciations are right, but I'm going with it.
I love them. I also just love that it's like nobody knows what this place is called.
Yeah. But it turns out everyone has a name for it because the Urgos call it Ungvek, strong-headed, and the humans jokingly call it Horse Spike. And I have no idea how that's funny. Do you know how that's funny?
No.
Okay.
Eragon's like laughing about it, right? When he's like, so hilarious.
They're
and I'm
hilarious.
Like, is it just whores? Very funny.
That's kind of what I thought because I looked up Horse Spike and I didn't see anything. So I was like, must be something I'm missing. Anyway, Eragon likes Veta, or hope, which is sometimes what people call the peak of the mountain.
Okay.
And the best. But Eragon prefers the sound of Arngor.
He does.
Because
we mixed bag on that sound.
Yes, I don't know how to say it, but he loves it because he's a dwarf now.
I think you're crushing it. I think you're doing it perfectly for the record.
And I just can't stress this enough. He's drinking in the morning. He's getting stressed about all the craftsmanship he has to oversee. He's drinking some more after that and is kind of annoyed at the elves. And to top it all off, admiring his new mountain hold.
Yes.
Aragon has embraced his dwarven adoption, and I, for one, am here for it.
Yes, he's full-blood dwarf now.
Yes, he's just more dwarf than anything else. Arngor will not only serve as a Dragonhold, but as the new vault for the Eldenari. And it is the new training grounds and academy for the future riders, so it's got a lot of multi-purpose use here.
Yeah.
That is all in the future, though, as currently there isn't much here, and Eragon reflects that there's a bit of confusion and chaos in his new home, as the various races, goals, and allegiances of everybody present here are just a touch different. That is especially notable because no one is exactly comfortable in what is essentially an abandoned mine. Eragon describes
Weird.
it's like no one likes it here.
Well, they didn't bring any canaries.
That's so nice. Eragon describes the various groups pretty funny here. The Urgos are belligerent, the humans are fractious, the dragons are puzzling, and the elves are a pain in the ass. Again, Eragon's a dwarf now.
Yeah, this is all he's thinking. He's just like, ugh.
I can just imagine him like pinching the bridge of his nose
constantly.
And he's just like, come on.
He just has like on lock. You know the way that when you turn 30, somehow like 4 Kirkland-sized bottles of aspirin materialize in your house. You just need so much aspirin. He has that, but the magic version. It's just on tap. Migraine spell.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta go to sleep. He's really, I bet you Eragon's focusing more on his sleep nowadays. Yeah.
I could learn a lesson from Eragon.
I am left feeling, as I read this section, that Eragon's new job is really hard. He's essentially founding a small town, and the problems that come with that seem to be wearing on him. He's exhausted and overworked from extreme magic use, and he's always hungry and can never get full and seems constantly exhausted from that. And he even has lost 3 notches on his belt, which would be many inches, right?
Yeah, he is rail thin, I think, because it's not like he was a beefy boy before.
Well, one step closer to Garo. One step, never forget the scarecrow of a man that was Garo.
Just wants to embody the soul of his father, uncle.
Slowly, he will only eat beets.
I cannot believe, now that you've mentioned this, why did he not design the dragon hold to look like the farm?
Oh my God, just
Garo's
one
farm.
giant farm.
Like, 4 times the size.
That'd be so funny.
It's like, you all just live in my childhood home now, and I will treat you like my maybe nefarious, questionably evil father uncle.
You'll feel comforted, but maybe everyone else will feel like you're in danger.
Yes.
Overall, we're getting a picture of an Eragon who's worn down by the logistics and diplomacy, and more truthfully, the complications of leadership. He also seems to be missing the passion, excitement, and the adventure of youth.
Yeah.
Saphira, who has a nest in Eragon's office that serves as their bed, seems to be annoyed with Eragon and wants him to take care of himself a bit.
Yeah.
She suggests sparring or fighting or anything other than what he is doing.
Yes, this read to me like new book, same Saphira. Like, she's just the fucking best. She's assertive, obviously.
Right.
Very opinionated, but it does come from a good place. But
yeah, she's the best.
Yeah, I love that Eragon's, though, still just out here pretending like she doesn't run his life better than he can. He's like, I don't need to listen to you. You don't have the best ideas for me.
You know me.
Yeah, you're not in my soul.
Eragon reflects on something we all get to at some point, I think. For me, it happened around 30, and it's almost harder to work out. It's like harder to work out the mundane and boring wins in life than the complicated mess of growing up and drama and the excitement of young love and conflict. And those early milestones of aging, like there's kind of a path. Once those are behind you, the hard work kind of starts, you know? And the work that's more like, what does relaxing seem like to me? And how much do I need? Yeah. What keeps me waking up in the morning and feeling content in life? I feel like Christopher Paolini is older here too, and we're really feeling this vibe.
Yes, that is how it read to me for sure.
Yeah, as Eragon walks through the hold, we get the sheer scale of what he's taking on. The tunnel is large enough for Saphira, and in fact is large enough for almost all dragons that existed, except the most old and largest. Because of that, this place is taking an extremely long time to construct and lacks warmth.
No.
Because they're a giant cavern.
Just literally is freezing. And air circulation is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm cold.
Where are the elves inventing central heating? Like, they are creatures of comfort. I do not understand.
Don't they already have running water?
Yes.
Oh, so yeah. So this is going to have plumbing.
Get with it. Yeah.
This is for sure going to have plumbing.
Hell yeah.
Eragon thinks they need to decorate it to make it feel more cozy. And I love how domestic our boy is now. He's like, some rugs and a houseplant would help. Maybe a warm color on the wall.
Same thing happened to me when I got out of my looking at the decor of my apartments from my early 20s versus my apartment now. I'm like,
nice apartment.
Oh, thank you. But it's one of those there was a time in my life where nothing was on the walls and everything was shades of gray. And that was a mistake.
I just didn't decorate my apartments.
Yeah.
They were just like empty shells.
Yes. Yeah. And any hand-me-downs we could get from anyone.
Yes.
For years.
Mostly I think this was my roommate's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I could make this corduroy couch nice. And now that's kind of a vintage vibe.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
I miss that corduroy
It's coming
couch.
back.
Yeah.
At a courtyard, which just sounds like a staging area for the tools and people's stuff right now, there are some Urgles wrestling, which is
of course
fun.
Yeah.
There are 2 elves on guard watching out on the lands below, like Legolas. It is giving a very different vibe than anything we got in the first book. Everything is a little different.
Yeah.
Eragon walks into his main hall, and his thoughts are amazing. So the dwarves made his hall based on his own ideas and plans. Good for Eragon. And it seems like the elves came in and changed a bunch of it. Eragon thinks about how...
Surprising exactly nobody. Super on brand.
It's amazing.
The brand has to stay consistent, Dane. They have a reputation to uphold.
They really do. Eragon thinks about how the elves and dwarves have argued over these changes, because I can just imagine the dwarves are like, no. Like, we need this arch to hold the cavern up.
This is how engineering science works.
Yes, it's so funny. And I can imagine him having to break up fights between craftsmen on a regular basis. Yes. A whole thing.
It's half of his job.
Yeah, he's just like, guys, please, can you just stop?
What he really needs are some HR best practices for people to file complaints and have
some trust falls.
Yeah. They need a work retreat.
They need a work retreat. I would read that book. Like Angela puts on a work retreat for Eragon's hold. That would be hilarious.
I feel like if Angela did it, everybody would like get high. She would like sneakily poison the first night's dinner so that everybody like
ayahuasca. Is that what that is together?
Yeah. And she's like, trust me, you don't need to talk to each other. You all just need to work out your own shit individually, but do it in the same room so you're trauma bonded.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, a work retreat.
A work retreat.
You can tell we've had many corporate jobs between the two of us.
I'm going to move right along. Eragon starts to go back to work at the storeroom, even though he's supposed to be having a relaxing time. And he generally feels like he doesn't want to relax. He doesn't want to read or spar. He feels a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
He's stressed.
Yeah.
This is anxiety guy. He eventually heads to the new Vault of Souls where the Eldenari sit. Most of Galbatorix's insane Eldenari are apparently deep underground, separated from everyone because, they're dangerous to everyone.
Gave me like radiation bunker vibes.
Yes.
It's like if we bury it under enough miles of concrete, we'll probably be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Why don't they just... I really mean this. Why doesn't he just kill all these crazy Eldenari? Let them be. They've already escaped their mortal coil. Let them leave their little eggshell soul.
Yes, I feel like it's a value for life thing. Like, I think just knowing everything I know about Eragon, you'd be like, I need them to ask me. And it's like, well, my guy.
They're insane.
They can't do that. Yeah. But I don't think,
can do that.
Yes, declared incompetent. Like, legally incompetent is really a thing in Eragon's universe.
That's fair.
He doesn't have like the right power of attorney over that.
Yeah, that's true.
He needs to put them in a conservatorship.
That's
the only time
so
it might be warranted. Free Britney.
For right now, he's doing what a lot of people do with the elderly. He's just putting them in a home and pretending they're not there. Anyway, Eragon wants to heal them, but I mean, even Eragon is like, that'll take decades.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
I mean, working your traumas out. Am I right? The new Eldenari Vault sounds pretty beautiful, full of windows and situated to gather the most light from the outside of this mountain.
Yeah.
And it's called the Hall of Colors.
Beautiful.
Due to the lights bouncing off the many different hued and colored globes of Eldunari.
Yeah, it sounded gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
10 out of 10.
I was like, well, that's
would
beautiful.
Visit. Yeah.
Eragon bows to Glader's Eldenari and talks with him. And basically the ancient dragons tell our boy Eragon to get right with himself. Yeah. And then he'll be resilient.
You're not doing great.
Well, I love it because it's almost toxic and nice. They're like, you need to get good with yourself because then you'll be resistant to like not be a man. You know what I mean? Step it up.
Oh my God.
It's so funny. All the dragons want him to be chill. They're like, chill out.
Yes, I feel like it makes a lot of sense to me that all these like ancient wise dragons are big like self-care queens. They're just like, hey bud, you need to take a beat, center your chi, chill out, watch some reality TV. Have a bubble bath. Light a candle, girl. You deserve it.
Reality TV always makes people happy about the world.
Depends on who you ask, but that's a self-care guilty pleasure for a lot of people. I'm sure in the fantasy books demographic, that's going to be a good take people relate to.
I think so. We're not straying far there at all. Yeah, they're like, how we spied on everyone all the time? We can still do that.
Yes.
And we can show you what we see.
Yes.
Be a voyeur.
They get it.
It's hilarious. I mean, Eragon agrees and to just spy on someone and lets them show him something.
Yes.
And that's the beginning.
I know. So that takes us to chapter 2, A Fork in the Road. So we kick off this story within the story with a young girl named Essie who lives in Siunan. Remember that city like way up in the northwest of Alagasia, the one the elves took in like a rain of fire and magic when the war first started?
Is this the one when Queen Islanzade comes on stage and she's like got a bloody hand?
Yes.
And she's like...
Yes, like washing the blood from like up to her elbows, I think.
And she's like, they killed a tree.
Yes.
We did not like that.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
That's Siunan. So we are here now.
Yay.
It is kind of fine, actually. Yeah. It's not burnt to a crisp, I guess. But we're here with this Essie who's weaving her way through the city after some kind of conflict that we're definitely finding out more about. She's on her way back to her family's inn, the Folsom Feast, which is a lovely inn name. And she's going to make herself a sad little charcuterie plate and get to plotting some type of like midnight mass. I don't know. She has some like odd ideas at the beginning here. She notices a mysterious traveler as she sits down, though, and promptly loses herself in some violent, murderous fantasies about the little girl she'd been fighting with. So she just is like a little chaotic, I feel like, in the opening.
She's a tween.
Yes. So when the traveler notices her like erratic eating habits, because she's like ripping apart her cheese and like loaf of bread, he asks her what her deal is, and she thinks briefly about how she never listens to her dad when he tells her not to talk to strangers.
Perfect.
Great. And I'm thinking like red flags on red flags so far with Essie. She insists that they introduce themselves, though, before they tell the story. Foolproof way to not get kidnapped.
Yes.
And this traveler just happens to share a name, Dane, with a certain mentor horse.
Oh.
It's Tornak.
Tornak.
Do you think that's a common name, Dane?
I don't think Tornak is a common name.
No.
Is it Murtag?
It's gotta be Murtag.
Yeah.
Catching up with our boy. So he's apparently waiting on somebody who's running super fucking late. So he says he has time to listen to this little girl's diatribe about someone named Hjordis. And apparently Hjordis is this town's self-important, upper-middle-class Regina George is the vibe I'm getting.
Oh my gosh.
And she lured Essie in with fake niceties and then threatened to withhold her father's business from Essie's family's inn. You know, tween Game of Thrones, I think.
Wow.
If Essie won't do Hjordis's dirty work and push some nice boy into a horse trough.
I mean,
high stakes.
Push the boy into the horse trough.
Rude.
I mean, it'll build character.
I mean, he seemed nice. Essie seemed really tore up about it. Poor boy. I think I'd be lying if I say I hadn't been there, you know, classic middle school mean girl, push your close friend into a horse trough situation. Who hasn't? But Tornak seems like appropriately amused by the whole thing. Obviously, we are amused. And he encourages Essie to apologize, but she insists that he just doesn't understand like the intricate political dynamics at play in this rich kid, poor kid situation. And she puts the cherry on top by just calling him old. I'm like, damn, kids are savage.
They're savage.
I was totally into the writing in this scene, though, because really, like, the only young kid I think we had in the limelight in the original series was Creepy Witch Baby. And I feel like Christopher Paolini is really nailing childhood angst here,
Perfect,
you know?
perfect. Yeah, because we only got that weird baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
Witch Baby.
Yeah,
Angsty still, but in a different and sad
more
way.
like steeply dark and scary.
Yes, that's correct.
Like almost like Cthulhu horror type situation.
Yes.
I can see whoever wants and desires, Eragon. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Violet eyes.
Yeah, less is more, less is more.
Yes. Essie, though, nice, just normal young girl.
Yes.
She's decided the only solution is to run away and see the Bior Mountains and the dwarves, and Tornak listens intently while using a touch of like anywhere you go, there you are wisdom to like try to get her to stick it out in this town and fix her problem. He's like, don't run away from home. You're 11.
And look at Kettle. You know what I mean? Don't run away from your problems.
Yes.
Yeah. Says Murtag.
Yes. That's what I like about this. I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
I got you.
Okay. I was like, okay, nice.
Yeah. In the course of this convo, Murtag drops that he's been to the Biors himself under like a hail of arrow fire, and he's just like rolling around Allegasia now, introducing himself, I guess, to people as his mentor horse. Like, I feel like this is the absolute confirmation when he talks about the Biors that
Biors.
Obviously this is Murtag.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, your horse? That's who you named yourself at? Your mentor and your horse? Do you still have the horse?
Well, no, right? The horse, he lost the horse.
Do you think he ever got him back?
Well, no, he killed Hrothgar. He for sure never got his horse back.
I just like the idea that like Murtag rides around on Thorn, but like has access. You know how for a long time Eragon just like had access to Snowfire.
Yeah,
I like the idea that he's rolling around, and when he wants to go undercover into a town, he hops on his horse named Tornak and then introduces himself as Tornak, and people are just like, this guy's crazy.
Where did Tornak go? Is Tornak with? I think maybe he might be with like Roran.
Oh. Snowfire is with
Snowfire is with Roran.
You think Roran's just out here collecting all the horses?
I think he is.
I could see that.
It would make sense too. You could start like a stable, do a line between Tornak and
the last time Murtagh had Tornak. I like that this
He was a
podcast is
prisoner.
just like, let's track horses. I feel like we did this with
Horse watch.
Horse watch. I feel like we did this with Caddock and Snowfire for like half of the first book.
Yes.
So this feels like home to me. But I think the last time Murtagh had him was when he got kidnapped
By the
from
twins.
Trondheim.
Yeah. I don't think
Okay.
he has Tornak.
So the Varden has Tornak.
yeah, someone.
Probably.
Well, you know who has Tornak? Asawada.
Oh,
She brushes his mane.
see,
and
that's why
thinks
I'm
about
like, maybe
Murtagh.
Murtagh has him back.
But he's like a vagabond now.
They're friendly.
Right? Well, they're more than friendly.
Exactly. But I guess I digress. We'll maybe when we read Murtagh find out more about Tornak. Fingers crossed. That's my only high hope for that book.
If it doesn't tell us where Tornak is immediately.
I'm going to be pissed. So Tornak, Murtagh, and this girl child ruminate briefly on the philosophical implications of bearing scars, which is an interesting aside.
Fun little like conversation with a child.
Yes, and he's just starting to tell Essie that running away from his problems didn't do shit from
there
him,
we
and
go.
then they're interrupted. So it's like, oh, a light degree of self-awareness. So Tornak's associate finally shows up, and this guy gives Essie an immediate ick. She's just like, ooh, I hate him. He seems really shitty. He's described as sly, slithering, and he's wearing raggedy-ass clothes with a bunch of gaudy rings, and his teeth are sharpened to points.
Gross.
I feel like that was, like, in the whole description, that was almost like a throwaway line, and I'm like, no. That is the most alarming thing I've ever read.
Good focus on that.
Could you imagine meeting somebody with teeth sharpened to points, just
No.
loose in the world?
Because even the implication of what they went through to get that,
No.
it all just sounds horrible.
No. If you're going to do something like that, put a veneer on top like a regular person.
Yeah. Oof.
So when this guy comes in, a bunch of rough-looking dudes aren't far behind him, at which Essie picks up her dad behind the bar, is like grabbing his club. He's like on notice. He can tell that something's amiss at the inn. And I'm also catching this weird vibe as Murtagh invites Essie to stay to learn as they conduct their business. But she's curious, and so am I. So here we go. He's just like, hang out, child, while I do nefarious business with this nefarious
See
guy.
this dangerous, slithery man? Stay near me.
It's so weird.
It is
but
very weird.
She's like, I really want to know. And I'm like, well, I do too.
Do you think that's the dragons? They're like, stay, girl.
Probably.
Okay.
Like Eragon needs to see this. All in service, really, of the chosen one at the end of the day. So this dude named Saros has been gone in the reaches of the continent, I guess, for 3 months. And he presents Murtagh with a sulfurous, smoldering stone and a tale of many more where that one came from. I feel like I don't know anything about any of this.
No, this is all, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yes, but as they get down to where exactly the stone came from, Saros tries to do Murtagh dirty. He's like, I won't tell you unless you pay me everything you have all of the time.
It's a robbery.
Yes, he's doing a robbery.
You framed that really nice for a robbery. I won't
Tries
tell
to do
you
him-
anymore until you give me everything you have all of the time.
Yeah, he tries to do Murtagh dirty. He's an entrepreneur, Dave. Just kidding. Soros sucks. I make no apologies for that man. He's
She's
the
an
worst.
apologist, everybody. She's a Soros apologist.
No, fuck that guy. But things start escalating, obviously, very quickly as Saros puts his dagger to Essie's throat to quiet her when she tries to speak up. Very, very bad. And Murtagh tries to reason with a man who seems totally fine murdering children. But Saros is insistent, and as they talk, we get the disgusting tidbit that Saros's breath reeks of rotting meat. This guy is maybe one of the top 5 worst characters on screen, whole series so far.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
Yeah.
He's pretty bad.
Hate him. So things are looking dicier and dicier. Murtagh, his first spell he tries to like obviously get this situation in hand, fails, which is wild. I don't know if we've just seen...
We've never seen that.
Like magic fall dead.
We've seen it like countered, but we've never seen it just like not work.
Yes, they pull out these creepy amulets. I think like it reminds me maybe of the anti-scrying necklace Eragon had, but that is spell specific, you know, that only works for one type of magic. And
it's not like the spell didn't work. You just saw black.
Yes,
you know what
true.
I mean? Like
yeah.
it worked. But what happened on the thing was black.
Yes. So this is definitely brand new. And the only other thing I can think of is like the Razak's resistance to mind magic. Like they are just totally hidden.
Okay, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's what it is described like. There you go. We have seen this a little bit.
Yes, but this also just seems much sketchier because you could still, at some point, get a spell's effects to work on the Rozak. You know?
I guess their minds just weren't available to do the magic, so you couldn't do mind magic. Like, you just couldn't even...
Not the mind magic, but, like, this is Murtagh just trying to cast any spell.
No, I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I was just saying that, like, it is, I guess, different in that there was just an absence of anything to affect with that.
Yes.
This was an attempt that didn't work.
Yes.
Which is, like, the real magic. And the real magic did work on the Rozak. I'm with you. I'm following
Yes,
you.
but even Murtagh even tries the name of names here, and that shit doesn't work. So
Which was hilarious. To me, I was like, we're gonna see the name of names, and then it doesn't work. And I'm like, we are not gonna see the name of names.
Well, I also liked, I guess when it came up, I was like, just in a bar, like on a Tuesday, that's what this is for. I'm like, maybe I wanted the stakes to be a little bit higher.
No, I like that he's like, I pull the
names.
top of my line,
Yes.
power immediately.
But Murtagh rips a page straight from Eragon's "If You Can't Beat 'Em, Get Wily" playbook, which I like, and he whips out a lightning-fast maneuver to disarm Saros and get a freshly enchanted fork under the man's chin. It's tense as fuck, so when Saros shoves himself away, the entire common room erupts into chaos.
Yeah.
And as the guests are rushing the doors in just a blind panic to get out of this place, Saros is setting his thugs on Murtagh, who is fending them off with... a forking fork, Dane. A magical fork.
It was pretty cool.
Yes. When I was reading this, I couldn't tell if I kind of loved it or thought we had well and truly jumped to the shark, but I think I'm just full camp. This is amazing.
Yeah, I like it.
No time to consider the martial logistics of sword on fork combat because a thug charges Essie and her mom with a mace, and it's truly looking dire when bam, this dude drops dead with what else but a fork sticking out of the back of his head. It's incredible stuff. So we're down to just Saros and one thug left, and after Murtagh dispatches the henchman, Saros tries a Hail Mary, throwing some crystals back at Tornak as he flees.
Yeah.
And this time, the Name of Names does work. And as Murtagh diverts the crystals into the fireplace, they explode there. So
Perfect.
He's able to enchant the crystals, but not the people. I think is the implication
which makes
here.
sense. They're wearing the necklace. The
Yes.
crystals aren't. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, and it is over for Saros now. Murtagh catches up to him, lifting him straight overhead, which I was thinking of you and your many stories you tell me about your weightlifting. Is that like a 160-pound clean and jerk?
That's that would be. I thought that's a heavy press, man. I don't know.
He slams Saros back down into the ground, breaks his arm, and he isn't put off his business for a fucking second. He still needs to know where Saros found that stone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, he's single-minded. He's on his objective. And the answer was not at all what I was expecting. He starts some crazed ranting, just absolute gibberish.
This was wild.
Yes, I'm going to read it because I'm deeply hoping this is what we're going to dig more into in Murtagh the book. It's, you do not know what you seek, wanderer. You're moon-addled and nose-blind. The sleeper stirs, and you and me, we're all ants waiting to be crushed. You don't understand. The dreamers, they get inside your head and they twist your thoughts. Ah! They twist them all out of joint. You're welcome. And then this asshole just dies.
Do we have any thoughts on what this might be?
Not real. I mean, not in any like coherent way that matters. It's like there's other magic, it feels to me, elsewhere on the continent. Like there might be a new magic system we haven't heard about. There might be other types of spellcasters we don't know about. Yeah.
The only thing from what we know is like the Dreamers to me sounds like the Eldonari.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like literally nothing else.
Yes. Yeah. So I am hoping this is like what we'll be able to pick apart a little bit in Murtagh book.
Murtagh. Yeah.
Yes, I also thought it was very weird. Saros dies foaming at the mouth.
Did he like get a capsule of arsenic or something?
Yes. And I'm just like, what a welcome back to Alagasia. Jesus.
It's so lovely here.
Yes. Wild. So Murtagh collects Saros' amulet. He's like, I got to know about this. This was very bad. He takes the stone the guy had and his money, obviously. He's thorned and raised no fool. So Essie has a moment to contemplate her sudden loss of innocence and the boundless dangers of the unknown world while all this is happening. She's like, oh, everything's bad, I think.
Yeah, she just watched 3 murders.
Yes, dude.
And he's just like, good day, child.
Yes, super fucking bleak. But Murtagh is a nice dude, and he gives Essie's family his small purse of more money than they've ever seen in their lives before giving Essie some parting wisdom and his magic fork. He heals a big scar that she had that they were talking about earlier that she's a little embarrassed about, and he gets the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, I was surprised he healed the scar, actually.
Yeah.
Personally.
I think so, too. After his diatribe about, like, the marks you have make you who you are, you know, that kind of thing.
And also, he seemed irritated that Eragon healed his back scar. And I don't think he healed his back scar, at least from what we know. So I was just surprised.
Well, I think that's why he was irritated at Eragon. I think the Eragon thing is just like a visual and like very clear contrast between the two of them, that Eragon gets what Murtagh can't have. So it's more of an emotional
And now
wound.
he can have it, so he doesn't want to get it, though, because he couldn't get it earlier.
Yes, because he's a sad boy, Dane. He's
I
an
love
emo
my sad
boy.
I'm glad we're back with him.
I know. It has been fun, but I think for
I
him...
slowly put on eyeliner as I read this series.
Yeah.
Put my hair in front of my face. Played Dashboard in the background.
I know, I was there. So much vindicated. Shocking. No, I feel like, I guess if I have to take a stab at it, like a fork stab, if you will, I feel like maybe Murtagh is trying to give Essie something he couldn't have. He's like, you understand the importance of a scar, but I can at least heal this like giant visible one while you're young. And as you collect more and more, you'll remember what I told you because the one is gone.
It's very nice regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. And Essie, as Murtagh leaves, she's like busy naming the fork Mr. Stabby. And that just gave me major like Game of Thrones needle vibes. Like if Arya had been a couple of years younger, it was very cute, I thought.
Maybe there'll be a hero with a fork later on.
Yes. And so from Mr. Stabby, we transition over to be in Murtagh's point of view. It seems like he's having... as he walks out of town, he's thinking about his relatively peaceful, surprisingly, post-war retirement. He's only killed a few people in the last year, he said. So I feel like for him, that's a pretty peaceful stretch.
Honestly, yes.
Yeah. And it appears as though like maybe the absence of constant violence is bringing Murtagh around to be a bit more like his half-brother, because he seems a little less pragmatic and a little more genuinely repulsed by killing people. Like, I think he'd pause a lot longer before beheading a slaver now than he did then.
I love this, though, because he's just more sad.
And the only effect is that he is more emo.
More emo somehow.
Just like one more strand dropped in front of his eyes, you think?
He looks down at his hands and the nails are painted black.
Yes, every time he gets sadder, one more nail gets painted black.
So funny.
But alas, Dane, life goes on, and Murtagh is just like us, wondering what the fuck any of Saros' rant meant. So that's what he transitions to start thinking about. He's got more questions than answers, and his overall outlook is pessimistic. So yes, more sad about like what he might find when he discovers whatever field this stone came from. But his thoughts are interrupted by Thorn. Nice to see Thorn back.
Yep.
He's hiding outside Sionon, and he's just a touch worried about whatever Murtagh has gotten himself into. He's like, what are you doing in there?
Why'd you do that?
Yes, it reminds me of like every time Saphira was like, every time you leave me, you get yourself into some dumb shit.
You know, we talked about this a lot in the normal series, but I just, it must be so frustrating to be so big.
Yeah.
Just being like, well, I can't go in there.
Whatever, I guess I'll see you later.
Are you okay?
Yes, and yes, knowing that they're in imminent life-threatening danger.
Yeah.
But Murtagh reassures Thorn, which is nice. And as he's heading out of the city, he sees Arya's magical grass love boat sailing off into the clouds. Or down from the clouds, sorry. Important detail. Didn't want to mess it up.
That boat gets around, man.
Yes, it did.
All right.
So we can't ever forget, everywhere we go, there's Arya. Comforting, I'm sure, to you.
Oh, yes.
A balm to your soul.
A warm feeling just infused me.
Yes. The ship sighting does leave Murtagh with the smallest hint of whimsy and optimism, which I think is the whole point of that ship. And he wonders if he should take his own advice, Dane, and stop trying to run like from his past and the people in it.
Judging that there's a new book out, I'm going to guess that doesn't happen.
Yes, ultimately an emo boy character, Murtagh decides that his circumstances will always make him an uneasy outcast, and he's better off swallowing that bitter pill and pursuing the mysteries Saros laid out at his feet. So,
I mean, he is definitely like stuck worse than anyone else in the story.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, he's killed kings. He's betrayed both sides. I mean, there's never going to be a time where people are like, oh, Murtagh, the hero.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes. So we end our interlude with Murtagh setting off to find out more about this creepy amulet, and I am suddenly pumped to see if this is what we're getting up to in the book Murtagh. So
too.
That's the last note here.
I'm
it was
very
fun.
excited. Yeah, I'm glad. That was great.
Yes. We're forking back, baby.
Well, we get to chapter 3, the Hall of Colors, and I mean, Thorn, Murtagh, some weird magical witch.
Yes.
It was unforking believable. That fight scene was great. But
yeah.
we come back to this teeny chapter at the end of this section to Eragon, who's just seen and felt all we have read. And it seems much time has gone by, which can't be good for his schedule, but you can't win them all.
Listen, you have to make time and prioritize your self-care, Dane. That's what that's a point they're making. He missed a couple appointments, but he feels better.
Eragon feels happy as he comes to, as he hasn't seen Murtagh since we last did, when they said goodbye to each other at the end of the last book.
Yeah.
And he's grateful that Murtagh is also feeling pretty good. Eragon is also worried about all the stuff Murtagh found and wants his friend to be safe.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, he comes back happy after watching murders. And there's mysteries. Like, yes.
Well, he was thinking earlier, right, about like, I kind of miss the violent chaos of my youth. And he's like, yes, I feel at home. Murders in an inn.
All I needed was a murder flashback. And I'm back in business,
Yeah.
baby. Eragon realizes that the vision was sent to him by the dragons because they were trying to give him perspective about his situation.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't a powerless girl in an inn, and he isn't even alone on the road like Murtagh, but the leader of the dragon riders, surrounded by people who respect him and who trust him.
Okay, yeah, mostly. Except the elves.
But no one's ever they're never gonna come around.
No.
He can relax a bit and maybe shift to a better perspective about his stuff, which I think is nice. Glitter asks if some reality TV time has helped, and they seem pleased to be able to assist Eragon. There is a lot of love in the room, and I'm glad he has all these dudes and dudettes. Sometimes you need a bro to put on the Real Housewives of Orange County to make you feel really good about your life decisions.
Told you, reality TV is self-care, Dane. It makes you feel better sometimes.
Just watch people being exploited to feel better about your life.
Yes.
Then that grass ship comes soaring on the wind again. And I have to say, the magic here is a little lost on me. Haven't we seen and heard about this thing like 5 times at this point?
Yes, it's the through line of the series. It's really what the books are about. Just full stop, I think. No.
Anyway.
My only question was like, doesn't that break the laws of time and space? How did it get this far across the continent?
Yeah, or maybe that was a memory from a different... I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. We also get memories of Arya, the night of the spirits of gold and lilies, and the second or third, I can't remember. Those are rose-tinted glasses, Eragon. Arya was still not into you then, and you were on the run from an entire country, and you had just killed the Boogie Boys. Yes. Literally everyone was worried about you, and he's like, the good old days.
Yes, remember when I bonded with my girlfriend who won't date me? And you're like...
that I haven't seen in a year. Finally, the book ends with Saphira and Eragon chatting and cuddling, and we learn that Saphira wants Eragon to take a break because he was getting crabby, which also my life partner makes me do sometimes.
That felt real to you.
Yeah, I still identify with Eragon all these years later.
Amazing.
Anyway, they discuss what everything he saw might mean. All in all, it's a nice little check-in with Eragon and Saphira.
Yes, I remember when we started reading this, we finished this first section, started writing about it, and I was like, that was fun. Like, I just feel overall good time.
It was a good time.
Yeah. Solid flick, as your wife would say.
Yeah, solid flick.
So these episodes, like we mentioned up top, they're going to be a little lighter than usual in terms of our segments. But at least for this first part, I did want to do just, quick analysis for a quick story.
Okay.
It's time for analysis.
So I wanted to take notice here of the infinite wisdom of the dragons, They deserve that. And I wanted to point out, I feel like kind of the central theme, what a lot of this disjointed maybe action ties back to is letting go of the past. It comes up quite a bit. The dragons take Eragon on this journey with Murtagh to calm him down, get him to relax. But I think a lot of that is to let go of the pressures building up on him and to let go of his constant turning back to everything that led him here and to these pressures,
Totally.
And then for Murtagh himself, once we get there, he seems to be constantly reflecting back on his past, how to let go of it. Like his whole conversation with Essie, I felt like was essentially geared towards confronting your problems rather than running away from them. Not that that's what Murtagh does here.
But like
to let go of his past.
Like every sad guy going through their like transformational journey, the beginning's going to be mostly him going, "Oh, I wouldn't. You should definitely.
I can't do that, but it'd be great for you.
I'm too hurt to be fixed in this way.
Yes, I'm different. Yeah. You wouldn't understand.
There it is. Yeah.
So I do hope that he's like able to maybe use some of his good advice to let go of the horrors that plagued him in the original series. Maybe moving on into Murtagh the book. Fingers crossed for our guy that he's able to do that.
I hope so.
Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to touch on for this first section, we notice most prevalently here in the book as a whole, and we mentioned it a few times already, is just like the maturity, I feel like, in Christopher Paolini's writing. I didn't actually read this book when it came out back in 2018, and I have to say, reading it for the first time in my 30s, the scenes with Eragon really played for humor, I thought, in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Because the writing and characterization does feel very true to, like you said, that phase in your life where you start to settle in and you get a whole new set of problems that are like quieter maybe than your old problems, but like also sometimes just funnier, goofier. So like some of the stuff you're like, I'll get there.
The stakes are different.
Yeah.
But like somehow more existential.
Yes, for sure.
You know?
And I think the way he nails that in this opening definitely played for humor to me. I'm like, that's real.
It definitely, especially the first two books, where the first two books kind of read more childish. This reads definitely more adult.
I think so, which is funny because the whole central story of it is in the point of view of a child.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know, like, I was thinking about it, since you have a kid, did you feel like this same concept of kind of maturity in the writing applies at all to the writing from Essie's point of view? Like, reading her story made me think about how few actual younger kids, again, not just cursed witch babies, were in the original series. And I think there's something to the idea that with a little more maturity in the years where you or people your age are starting to have kids, you sometimes think with a little more clarity on your younger years, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true. I think when you see kids, or when you're just around other people who have kids, or you really start to think about what those conversations tend to revolve around, what you wanted when you were a kid, what opportunities you felt you were missing. And I think it starts to, you realize that you're parenting, or at least giving advice to your friends who are parents, through the lens of things that you experienced when you were a child. And you're so far from them, and sometimes you probably haven't even thought about them.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, my dad did take me to like Disneyland, and I didn't want to go, and I, whatever the thing was.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that rings true to me.
I think that's kind of what I was picking up when I was like, Essie's thoughts and feelings feel very spot on. They feel very realistic for like the woes of childhood. And it just struck me as an interesting departure, I think, from the writing in the first four books, from like the characters Christopher Paolini focused on there. And I think maybe, like you're saying, just being around more kids and having a little bit of that older perspective, it seems like he really took into account both, the small woes, small problems, but also the small joys of just like being a pure child. I feel like it's something you talk a lot about, having a kid.
Yeah. I mean, you get to part of the cool part of having a kid is you get to see the life through a kid's eyes, and they love shit way better. They and they're so nice and innocent and like just so excited about things. You're just like, ugh, the world is magic again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, felt very different from the original books, but in a way that I'm like, oh, good for you. Like, that makes sense. She was a fun, plucky little character.
Yes,
I liked her.
I did like her as well.
Yeah, that's what I have for very small analysis for very small story.
Well, buckle up, because I have a huge deep dive. No, I don't have a deep dive on this one. I did find a review on Goodreads that made me laugh. A quote. This is the review. Here we go. 6 minutes in on chapter 1. And Eragon has random racism towards elves? WTF? After all we went through? What? Why? Who wrote this? End of quote. Yeah.
I feel like you spent so much of the original haters segments making this point about the elves, or making the points that Christopher Paolini makes in this opening about the elves.
Yep.
And then we were thinking about like haters segment, how it might apply to this book of short stories, and reading that review. We were like, what?
Did he come? Did Christopher Paolini come around to my side?
I think so.
Slowly he was like, wait a minute.
I feel like the whole The whole thrust of What Are the Haters Saying is like, it's chaos and you can't win.
No, there's no way. No matter what you do, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I think that should be it for today. I think we've had fun.
Yeah.
This was nice. It was a nice foray. I'm interested to get in this second section. And so thank you so much for listening. Make sure to rate and review, especially on Apple Podcasts, support on Patreon, and check out our social media at Is This Just Fantasy Pod on TikTok or at Just Fantasy Pod on Insta. If you have any questions or just want to write to us about the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. And you can email us at isthisjustfantasypod@gmail.com.
Yes, and if you want to keep pace on this hurtling along journey and read along with us on the next episode, we will be covering Chapter 4, Rhymes and Riddles, through Chapter 6, Questions and Answers.
even saying,
or is this just fantasy? We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. Come on and listen to us next time. Find out what our deep dive will be. Thanks for catching our show.